Oh, it's me again. Um, I'm working on. I made a video last night for you guys, and I'm pretty sure you saw it. I just wanted to. The one I sent you wasn't what I had initially. I was all over the place doing some stuff, so I'm gonna go with what I originally was. Well, not originally, but what I wanted to get shown to you guys prior to running into some difficulties. Um, this is essentially it's going to take maybe about 30 minutes or so. Maybe not that long, but basically we're just gonna. I want to go over familiarizing you guys with Google searching and some of the different things that you can do with the search engines when we utilize these tools and these investigations. There are just so many different ways to excuse me again, to search for these, we'll call them targets, subjects, things of that nature. Depending on what your investigation is or what you are investigating is going to depend upon what tools you gear your investigation towards. For today, for this project or course or experience or whatever you want to call it, this little lecture, that sounds too official. So this little talk, this discussion, some things that you should have. Obviously, you need a connection to the internet. Without that, we're not going to be able to do anything. These investigations and the searches that we do, it's best to utilize either a laptop or a PC. It doesn't matter if it's a Mac, if it's a Windows or Linux-based distribution. Which is really important that you have a computer. If you're to use a cell phone, you can. It's a smartphone, right? So it's essentially it's a computer, uh, iPads, tablets, little Kindles. Those will work, but it's a different operating system, and the operating system that we tend to have the best results from is essentially Windows and Linux. I'm familiar with Mac, but I don't utilize it too much. Some of my virtual machines I've got Mac OS that I run, and that just might be a personal preference because I know a lot of people that are very big fans of Mac. Linux I love, and that's just a offshoot of the original Unix. But if you've got the ability to use a computer or laptop, I would strongly recommend it. If not, the best we can. If you can also get your hand on a second monitor, doesn't have to be a nice one, doesn't have to be an expensive one. I picked one up, $20, and it does everything it needs to do. It's used. I would recommend, unless you're planning on using it for beautiful art and gaming later on down the road, don't get something expensive or high def or anything like that. You just need something that is going to allow you to be able to have everything you see here on one screen and the stuff that you're going to be working on another screen. Makes life a lot easier. You'll see by me utilizing just one screen even while I'm doing this, there's a lot of going back and forth, where I could just have my reference screen up. Yes, I'm up here, and then all my work down there. So either way, and then obviously, if you're not interested in something, doesn't matter what it is, whether it be like school. If you went to school to be a blackjack dealer, if you don't like blackjack or you don't like cards, you're not going to be. Your mind is not in it. This is something that can be so exciting, so fun, and rewarding, and very, when I say rewarding, very financially rewarding. The For the practitioners or online investigators And I'm not talking a sworn law enforcement officer. I'm talking somebody who goes out there, maybe in private investigations, very easily at a lower company can become some form of analyst or a researcher, and they start at right around $65,000 a year. So it's depending on your skill set, obviously. College degrees can play a role or can play a factor in that. However, there are some companies that don't even look at college. They bring you in, look at experience, and pretty much will give you here's this, here's what we're going to do, fill it out, get me as much information on this person or on this business, on this website, and everything you can do. And if they're impressed, they're impressed. If they're not, then they're not. So it can be very rewarding. If you don't have most computers, Windows come naturally with Microsoft Explorer, which is the little E thing, or Microsoft Edge. What I recommend is you take them and you see here, like drag them, like if you can, oh crap. Well, you see, I only got 4 slides because with this, it's not really, oh, my screen sharing is paused. Awkward. Because I was only sharing this one. Sorry. But if you were to take what you have and just essentially take it and throw it away, Microsoft Edge, Microsoft Explorer, or Internet Explorer, rather, I'm sorry. Just they don't really, for me, I don't find them useful at all for doing any of this stuff. And the reason for that is some of the tools that I'll talk to you about here when we get just a little bit further. And I'm trying to work on saying and not saying because is just when you don't know what to say, it's a brief pause. So you may see me just sit there and while I'm thinking. What we're doing here, and this is just overall throughout this learning experience, we're going to be teaching open source intelligence, or as you can see here, I think I'm pointing the right direction, OSINT. There's all kinds of ints. There's HUMINT, there's GeoINT, there's signals int, and the int is just intelligence. Open source, I mean, there's a couple different definitions here. And I mean, this right here where it talks about a paywall, and I'll just read that one, but I mean, essentially it's information that can be accessed without specialist skills or tools, although it can include sources only available to subscribers, such as newspapers, content behind a paywall, or subscription journals. That's just referring to, and I really don't like the verbiage on that at all, but I threw it in there because I wanted to hit the point on the paying stuff and the specialist. People who do this research are specialists. They're practitioners of a form of science. They were pioneers, going back 10, 15 years. It's starting to change, and a lot of this stuff is becoming more mainstream, which is good. But right now, it's an art. It really is an art form. And when you get good at it, you can find anything about anything. The thing I don't like is the paywall statement here. And when they say that, what they're talking about is if you were to buy a bin verified or Spokeo or buy the information from another company, I still consider that open source. Now, I don't practice that. I don't do that. Because I don't find it necessary. And I'll be honest, I have purchased a subscription once, and it was just a trial, which I immediately canceled. It cost me $1.99. I just wanted to see where my skill level was in comparison to some of the information. Some of the stuff wasn't there on theirs, and some of the stuff wasn't there on mine. So I found it pretty comparable. But the whole thing is does everybody have access to binverified.com and a 7-day free trial? The answer to that is yes, unless you're in some other place where they don't have that. But beyond the point, so I consider that open source intelligence as well. just do not get in the habit of using it, because there's no point in using the open source intelligence if you're paying for it. It's counterproductive, and it just it's silly in my opinion. If you want, you can go ahead and pause it and read this definition here. It's pretty accurate, and yeah. So if you want to read that, you go right ahead. So when we are doing these searches, and today we're just talking about the fundamentals. I kind of touched on some other stuff in the back as to what the point of this is, but the basic fundamentals here of these search engines and kind of how they work. They essentially, how they work is, to break it or to look at a bigger perspective here, is you've got the World Wide Web, okay? And that is anything that is a domain, and it starts with www.facebook.com. That is something that is on the World Wide Web. And that's something that is indexed. When I say indexed, I mean it's an item that is searchable, okay? It's something that you can find when you go to Google, or when you go to Bing, or when you go to Yahoo. Yahoo is actually the first engine, or first search engine, as a matter of fact, and now there are hundreds of them worldwide. Some of them you've never heard of, and if you thought of it, you'd be like, if you heard it, you'd be like, what? And an example here, DuckDuckGo is one in the United States. It's a phenomenal search engine. It is very good privacy oriented. However, I find doing the research Google to bring me better results. So it's a double-edged sword there. But so the way the World Wide Web gets indexed is Google and all these other search engines and brokers and anyone that wants to make the internet a better place or easier place to navigate. And that's also the difference between Tor or the dark web. That's not indexed. So you can't there's no search engine that you can just type in, how do I buy drugs? And it pops up with a website, because the onion URLs it's way different. There's no indexing that. It's possible to do in theory, and I mean, I really don't know why it's not been done. Maybe because they don't want the government oversight, but it's so much easier with the World Wide Web, and basically the way they index this stuff is they use these crawlers. They're called web crawlers, and I'm going to do a new share here so we can see my entire screen, which probably didn't change at all for you, but the fact that you can still see things changed a little bit, huh? We're going to go to Firefox here, because the two browsers that I like are Chrome and Firefox. We're going to go with Firefox right now. And we're just going to pick a website. One that is, let's go with Forbes. Forbes.com is a famous, I think I might have the wrong Forbes. Yeah, so we're going to go Forbes magazine and just see what the actual website is. Well, it is Forbes.com, so that is just awkward. Just didn't look like it. Sometimes the .com yeah. Anyway, so I was able to find that in Google, and the reason I was able to find that in Google is because of these crawlers that I was just talking about, and to see what these websites allow them to crawl. We just simply type in, after the web domain, robots, ROBOTS, .text, ROBOTS.text. We can click that, and this essentially is it's coding that every single website has. Facebook has it. Um, my website has it. Everything has it. Some of it is done automatically, like most GoDaddy or WordPress hosted sites will automatically do this for you and just allow everything or disallow everything. But this is stuff specifically to when you're going in and using not a web, when you do the actual code yourself. So what this is here, it's a user agent. It's for this particular line right here, it's just saying user agent. So that's referring to who the person that this line of coding is going to be specific to. And it says the asterisks. That's not a admin, that's not that wildcards, that's everybody. And they are allowed, or I'm sorry, let me take that back. That's all the robots, okay? They're allowed to view this, they're allowed to view this, and when I say allowed, that's where they're directed to crawl. When you have a disallow, it does not want them to crawl there. So it does not want like all this stuff. If you were to search Google for this stuff, you like everywhere it says disallow, it's not going to pop up in a Google search engine because it's not been indexed. When the robot goes to this page, and this is actually the page where the crawlers go to, they go boop, allow, and they open this up, and boop, allow, and they open this up, and then they go boop, disallow, all the way down. Oh, and you can actually see right here, Googlebot. So this is the Googlebot right here, Googlebot News. So apparently they don't want a lot of stuff from, because you can see all this stuff is just nope, 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 nope. Sorry, buddy. Can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. And that was the Googlebot. And yeah. While I'm in here, I'll just show you this real quick. This is a sitemap, and there's the 3 different ways. And by holding Control C, that's how I copied that instead of and Control V. We'll paste it. This is their let's say XML form. Sitemap is a little bit. I would say it's difficult, but if you don't really know what you're looking at, it's a little bit different. Sitemap of videos. That's weird. Oh, we can't find the page. So sometimes the sitemaps won't even show up, but the sitemap essentially is an index of the website, not through the web crawlers. Yeah, this is kind of crappy. Sorry, not going to get anything out of this one. So now we have got that stuff. We know how we index, how Google finds its information. It ends up on the website. That would be how it works. I guess we're getting down to the towards the end here. The Google searching itself, and we'll jump over to Chrome now for this. Or we'll stay in my Firefox, or this is Chrome, or this is Firefox. Just give me something, people. So we are aware, and I'm just gonna go back to that page. Sorry. If we're gonna do a Google search, the web browser typically you can search. Yeah, it says search Google or type URL, so we can search what we want in there. Most are the same. There's a function you can turn it off, but it's not really necessary per se. But so you can search up there or just type in Google and it'll bring you to the Google search. So we'll just type in Google, and then we're already on Google, but this is just to kind of show you Google. It brings us here to Google. And we also want to optimize our search settings because, well, I guess I kind of cheated. Let me just stop this screen share so I don't show you what I'm doing here, because I'll. But you're going to do this in a second, and then it won't be as interesting. I mean, I'm sure this is super, super interesting right now. Hopefully it is. It is for me. So we're going back to the screen share. After I hit share. Okay, so we're going to search for elephants. We're going to search for elephants. And you see that when we search that, in 0.87 seconds, we got 551 million results. So, I mean, I don't want to call BS on that, but that's a lot of results to get in that amount of time. And I mean, clearly it's got pages and pages and pages and pages of it. So Google likes to lie. They like to make their numbers look just like a lot of businesses, which is essentially what Google is. They make everything look a lot bigger. So what we're going to do to fix that problem is we're going to go right here to settings, and then we're going to hit search settings. And this is just optimizing the way we can search. By default, we are going to get between 10 and it's normally around 30. I dropped it down to 10 just for this point here, but between 10 and 40, again, 30 is typically what you're at for your default, but we'll go and bring it up to 100. It'll give us less pages to review and less scrolling, I guess. Well, more scrolling up and down, but less scrolling left and right. Safe search filters, we want that off. There may be an investigation where you have to see and witness things you don't necessarily want to see or witness, but it's important, especially if your target is being accused of doing something like looking at Russian foot fetish stuff. I don't know. So you're going to need to see that. Everything else in here is pretty unique and pretty good there. The regional settings, we're not going to mess with that right now. We'll touch on that later as far as IPs. It's going to ask us if we're human here in a second too. And the two ways you can do that is simply clicking this "I'm a robot," or sometimes it'll say click and hold here, and you will actually have to click it and hold it until that comes. So it actually looks like our search results went up, so it's kind of weird. We'll click that there, and then we'll go scroll down because now we've got 100. So I'm not a mathematician here, not at all, but we've got 551 million results. Okay, it took them a little longer, 1.6 seconds. And each page is now set to give us 100 search results, right? Scroll to the bottom. Why is there only 2 pages? Wouldn't that mean that it's only possible that there can be a maximum of 200 things? Well, now that we've called them out on their lie, Google has told us that there's 145 results. And this is page 2 of it. So searching Google for the word elephants, and we get 245 items, or what was that, 145 items? That's all Google has. Now, the reason why it shows, just for knowledge, it showed that 551 million search results is that's how many times elephants or these sites have been indexed. So some of these sites are going to be older. National Net Geo right here, they may mention the word elephant 4 million times on this particular website, which is back from January 25th, 2018. So it's very possible that it's just been indexed that many times, and that's where they get that number from. So they show you that. It makes you think that there's that much more, but there's really not. So that's probably the biggest thing that when you're starting and investigating a target, the changing that little small setting is actually, I mean, it's huge. It really is. I don't know if I really want to go into this just yet, if it's going to be too much, but I guess we can kind of cover a little bit of it. Just It's referred to advanced Google search operators. It's advanced as Google dorking, hacking Google, Google hacking. There's a book that was written about 20 years ago, and about 90% of it is still accurate to this day as far as the dorks or the codes that we're going to be. Essentially, this is coding what we're about to do, and it's super easy. For this example, what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like we've got a target, and we're going to use this target throughout a vast majority of our. Actually, we'll probably switch up the targets, but anyway, for right now, we're going to use a target named Gary, and we're going to try to see what we can find on him first by just typing in his name and his age, his approximate age. So this is what we know about Gary Meckler. We know he's Gary, he's 37 years old, and that's all we know. Okay, just simply type his name in, go to the very first thing, and we see Gary M. Meckler. Well, that's around 37. Gary Meckler, 37. That might be the Gary we're looking for. Okay, a 61-year-old. No, it's not him. Not him. Not him. We go down. There's not that many Gary Mecklers around. So, I bet this guy's a really nice guy right here. This one, but we know this Gary's about 37 years old, like I said. So it's probably going to be one of these two. We'll just go right ahead, right off the bat, and just check this one. And what else do we know about Gary? We know he's married to a female who was originally born in, or who was from Brooksville. We know she was from Brooksville. So we know that Gary Stephen Meckler Gary S. Meckler, who's 37, lives in Land O'Lakes. He is also known as Gary Stephen Meckler, Gary Meckler, Gary R., and he's related to Lynn Hurt, Suzanne L. Meckler, Michael A. Bonaciucci, Beth Hurt, and he is associates with a Marcus Schmidt. Well, he lives in Land O'Lakes, but his address is 9525 Montville Lane. Odd. So, and just to kind of explain that, the information that they're getting is compiled between yours, Dad, and Gary's. See, they can't. It kind of differentiates a little bit about who is who, but because we just put in 37, it gave us both of those options. I mean, even like it has your stuff in here too. It's got mail carrier, but it has Gary's stuff in here. So palm printing, well, that's yours too. Just some of the stuff it's got, and this guy Gary, whoever he is, up in Cleveland, Ohio, and all of his information. This is just to show you how easy it is to find some of the stuff. But back up one page because this is not the coding. And one more page because this is not the coding either. Let's say we knew we wanted to search Gary Meckler, and that's the only thing we wanted to search. When we do this, what this is doing is this is checking every right away. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Gary's a real good disguised hider here. What this is doing essentially is it's searching Google, and it's looking in all of those pages that they've indexed for the word Gary and the word Meckler. When it finds those two words, if it's in the same web page, doesn't have to be even the same website, it will pick that up and it will give it to us as one of the results. They don't have to touch, they don't have to be anywhere near each other. That's not an example. I was doing really, really hot on examples when I did this the first 27 times, but here's an example. This person right here is Lin Meckler, and then somewhere else on the website it has somebody named Gary McCarthy. So the word Meckler and the word McCarthy are in that site, so it picks it up. to stop that from happening, we utilize this code, this program, quotation marks. Now what this is telling Google, it's telling the computer to only find results that have the word Gary and the word Meckler that are touching. Otherwise, it will not show up in your search. So you've got Gary Meckler, 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 everything, and we can go all the way down to number 200, and it's even going to, our number, I'm sorry, 145, and it's still going to have the word Gary Meckler touching. It may not refer to you, it may not refer to, but it's going to be there. When we start getting into names that are a little bit more complicated, or a little bit, because the more unique your name is, the easier it is to do this kind of stuff. So, for example, we know that I've been in the news before. There's actually quite a few William Mecklers, believe it or not, but it's actually showing as if there's not, which is kind of odd. Maybe this is not pulling up any kind of, okay, here's something that pulls up. So we have 2 off-duty officers fatally shoot naked woman. So let's say this search that we had was filled with nothing but news articles about that stuff. And it's all still coming up with William Meckler touching each other. So it's giving us those unique, but we're getting all this overkill that we don't want. And what I do when I go down the line is the little bit of information that I have about the person, I'll try to use to my advantage. I know I'm not dead, right? Hopefully, if I am, nobody's gonna be watching this. So I'm gonna add another program to this, or code. I'm gonna code this a little bit more, and I'm going to use the minus symbol. No space at, so we're gonna have a space in between the quotation mark. It's gonna be quotation mark space minus, and then I'm gonna just type in the word obituary. Now this is gonna take out the word obituary completely. So there's nothing, the word obituary will not show up in any of these search results on any of those sites. So it drops us down even more. So now we're down to 73. So we want to limit this down to just me and just searches about me. And we're going to say we even are being more specific to, we want to find my house and where I live. So we know, well, we can knock off a couple right here, because businesses, that really has nothing to do with where I live. Or we can take out Salam. We'll take out the word business, and then we're also going to take out the word Charles, because we know I'm not Charles. So we got business, and we got Charles. So we're going to take those 2 out, and now we're down to 61. And of course, my stuff should not be listed, but sometimes, doing stuff like this, we do find it. I'm not from Maryland. I do have a GitHub account, but I'm not an undergraduate from Miami. I don't know a Catherine. I don't know a Dale. So what are some things that we could be utilizing to get rid of some of this stuff? Perfect. That's right. I could go minus Catherine or minus Dale. Another good one too there, minus Emil, whoever that is. And we'll just keep knocking stuff off more and more and more. Obviously, we know it's not a Mr. and Mrs. William Meckler. It's kind of weird. Hackwill, that sounds like something that could be mine, but it's actually not mine. And WilliamMeckler.com is not mine. It looks like we're doing pretty good, but we're still back down to this shooting thing here. So we'll take away. We don't want to take away necessarily the profession, because that may lead into more information about the target. But we could take away shoot. We can take away naked. We can take away woman. And why don't we take away, give me another one. We can take away Saratoga. Okay, that's down a couple lines, but I don't know anything about Saratoga. You're right. So we'll take all those away, and that drops us down to 49. Holy cow. We're not these, we're just going to scroll down through here and see what we got. And of course, I'm going to be a very bad example because I do teach data removal. I teach operational security for law enforcement, and I contract and do some consulting work with some other organizations to assist them and teach them how to get their information off. But every once in a while, you find a weak spot. You find a and there it is. And you have a brother, you have something like that a family member. Well, I don't know what that is. We'll pop that up too. But you have a family member that just is completely all over the internet because they just don't care. It affects you. Excuse me. And it affects you to the effect if you get linked to them. And by being linked to them, it creates difficulties. Now, I believe PeopleLookers is a paid website. So, yeah. And this isn't as big a deal, but it is a big deal because that's an address where I used to live, right? So with that address, with that phone number, and based off of this knucklehead, I am now in a situation where it puts me at risk because I know, for example, that I wasn't on this site. However, we tend to, and we'll talk all about how data brokers work, data information collecting and things like that later on in a different video. But essentially, it's I know I was not here anywhere, and additionally, I think it's like one of these websites is what the past was. So we saw my name was in this. I'm just going to do a quick search on this page. Control F on a Windows will bring you a search bar just like this, and you can just type in Meckler, and of course I'm here, but this one is not me. And it looks like that is all the searches there because there's 7 hits. 3, 1, 2, 3. So for whatever reason, oh, I guess I'm 34 also. Awkward. I know I look 24, but 34 is the actual age. A lot of times stuff like that will happen. Because these are data brokers, they're people that are selling your information for money. They're going to make it appear as if, yeah, we have his information. Come here, come check it out. And it turns out it's not. But this one is, unfortunately, anytime you see something like this, just stop, back up, and you're good, because that's just, it's going to ask you questions and it's going to make you pay. So that I guess we can kind of wrap it up there. That's just some of the basics of the advanced search operators. There's a whole bunch of more stuff. You can search for specific PDFs. You can search within certain websites. Like I've got some great custom search engines that I've made, which you guys will all have access to. But they specifically, like I have one that it only searches Facebook. It uses Google's algorithm to search Facebook.com. I mean, obviously Facebook has their own search engine, but it in comparison, it's night and day. The Google algorithm they've perfected searches where the Facebook and their algorithms have perfected the collection of data. Google also is a data aggregator. So yeah, anyway, I hope you guys were able to get something from this. We've got a lot more fun stuff to come, and I'll try to get some more videos up shortly. And we're going to have a little bit of a homework project, and that's going to come to you guys in an email. Thank you guys very much again. I'm Will, and I hope you have enjoyed this and learned lots. Wow, I look really, really sad and tired and wrinkly right now. Let's go in the dark. Have a great day. Be safe. And remember, if the product is free, you are the product.